money on it.
I was going to say,
not this. All right, let's jump into it, guys. Micah Parsons came in hot earlier today. Matt Schneidman tweeted out, Micah Parsons says he thinks, quote, a lot of rules are bull poopy. All right, let's just play the audio and then we'll read the tweet. Here was Micah Parsons at his locker. You guys know, if you're wondering what's this all about, Clayton, this is, everybody now all of a sudden getting into an uproar about Micah Parsons being held on every single play, essentially. So this was him responding to all that. Here we go.
We put so much emphasis on protecting the offense, protect the defense. A guy could be trying to catch the ball and you make a defensive play so he doesn't catch it, and it's targeting. It's a flag now. But a defensive end can be rushing and engaged with another player, and the guy could come blow his ribs out. And we're not considered defenseless, but like we said, it's an offensive league. I think a lot of the rules are bullshit. And it's like, guy damn near hurt Van Ness last week. What are we doing? If you're going to say it's about protecting the players, then protect all players. Don't just protect one side of the ball. I don't mind guys chipping from the outside, but running backs want to come and sneak players while we're engaged with the offensive linemen. That's complete bullshit. And people want to encourage, that's not good football. That's not safe football if that's what they want to preach, on the offensive side. So I think those things are more frustrating than, kids are the whole who are we kidding? You want to find guys for putting their head down, but you can be engaged with an offensive tackle and the guard can come put his head right into your head. What are we talking about here? And look how many times that's on film. Guys putting their head down and trying to come clean your clock. Well, you can't do that to offensive players. Shit. Get a $50,000 fine. I might get a fine for this contract.
Your 2025 NFL MVP, Micah Parsons.
There ain't no might to it. I might get a fine for this conference. No, you getting fined, Bub. You might as well prepare yourself. And again, that money will go to a good cause, I'm sure. But let's go around the horn with it, boys. How do we feel about it? How do y'all feel about what Micah just said? I think he's spot on. I think we got another clip as well, or actually just another tweet. I'll get that ready here in just a second. But what's y'all's thoughts on that, man? Because again, you guys know I like boring football. I like low-scoring games. I like when the defenses show up and you got to really dig into that bag on offense and try to figure out something that works against a scheme that maybe you didn't plan for. They came out of left field, hit you with a hook, and now you've got to adjust on the fly type thing. I love those type of matchups, right? And I feel like the rules are definitely geared toward you got to help the offense, got to help the offense. Everybody wants more scoring. Everybody wants more. I couldn't tell you how many times, Tim, I've been watching a game and go to X, and I'm just loving the game. I'm like, this is an all hard-hitting game. This is great football right here. And people are like, this is so boring because there's not a bunch of points scored, right? It's almost like the NFL over the last couple of decades has conditioned the fan to expect 40-plus points from each team or 30-plus points from each team. I'm kind of the opposite. What's your take on what Micah said there, man?
Yeah, I mean, he sounds like me 15, 20 years ago. I'll be honest. We've seen this coming a long, long way. And, you want to get the dirty stuff out of the game, right? You don't want any dirty stuff. You don't want guys getting hurt unnecessarily. But he makes a great point. If you're going to protect players, protect all 22 guys on that field at the same time. And, don't tilt it towards the offense. But it does seem like that's the way that really not just the NFL, but Major League Baseball, the NBA, you're seeing this, across the board when it comes to the major sports. It's dominated by offense. People want to see points. People want to see scores. They want to see the, explosive plays, those kind of things. But at the end of the day, you're a professional out there trying to do your job. And it's a little bit difficult when the games aren't being called consistently, both sides of the ball. So I respect Micah for, I don't think he lost his cool. I thought he kept it together, but, he's calling it like he sees it. And, he spoke very frankly. And I respect that. You don't see a lot of guys do that, in this day and age when it comes to their availability. He was asked a question and, he spoke from the heart and, kept it real. So, I got to salute Micah Parsons for that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Tim just said there. And to Micah's point, he had a really good point, is the fact that we're protecting guys from targeting and from going across the middle and getting blown up. And obviously I agree with certain aspects of that. Like Tim said, I'm more of kind of the 15, 20 years ago type stuff. The way that they're throwing flags nowadays, I think that there's 11 people on each side of the ball that are Bill Romanowski. You know what I mean? Like they're treating it like we're out here playing prison ball. That's not really the case. But like you said, you can be engaged as a defensive player, get completely sideswiped, get chop blocked, get cut, get all these kinds of things. And it doesn't seem like there's anybody that gives a crap whether or not they get to go home to their family and all that kind of stuff, and whether or not their paycheck is jeopardized by that. I do think that I like his vocalness, because we talked about it right after that game. And I think even the week before, that somebody needs to start being vocal, whether it's Matt LaFleur, whether it's the Packers social media going out there and just saying, hey, we need to spotlight the fact that this is kind of becoming egregious. I think I saw a couple different Packers podcasters talking about how, well, you know, it's kind of like in the same vein as how they don't call certain calls on when Giannis was in his prime, or like, you know, just because they're so good that if they were to call it, they'd have to call it every time. Yeah, that's the point of signing a guy to one of the highest paid contracts in the NFL, is because we want to utilize his talents. That's what we paid for. Don't sit here and say we're not going to throw flags because he's so good, you know, otherwise he'll wreck the game. That to me is absolutely asinine and stupid. But I don't know. What do you think, Clay?
Yeah, and I love what Micah said here. He took it a step further. You know, he put a tweet out about the tush push. Everybody's talking about this. You know, when the tush push rule change got shot down, the Packer haters made it sound as if we were the only ones complaining about that play. And what's cool is the Packers actually stopped it pretty easily against the Eagles, right? Like they were one of the few teams that could actually stop the tush push. And, you know, you had all of these teams. The reason it got shot down, the majority voted against it. They wanted it out of the game. But there wasn't enough votes within the NFL owner bylaws to, you know, make it an actual rule. Right. So now you're seeing a lot of people with remorse are watching this tush push take place all year long. And you can literally see the offensive lineman moving first. Yeah. Well, how come they let that go, but all of a sudden they don't let go, you know, the defense barely lining up off sides? You know, it almost feels like Micah Parsons, he's being penalized a lot for being off sides. I think he's trying to really push the rule a little bit since they're letting the offense push the rule. And what he said here, Matt Schneidman tweeted out, Micah Parsons, after his tush push tweet, quote, "You ask the Eagles offensive players, probably say that's the big thing we're doing on offense right now. It's the most consistent thing they got, but that might come and bite me one day. It is what it is. I hate that play. You can't stop it if they're leaving early. It's impossible. It's impossible to stop it if they're getting a split-second start, Tim." And you can see that guard in that last game. I can't remember who the Eagles played. The right guard. I mean, you see him move, arm come completely off sides, and you're not going to convince me the officials can't see that. You know, they're like, right. Oh, we got to have the sky cam to actually – no, that's a bunch of BS. Anybody watching the TV copy can see they're offsides. But, Tim, what do you think about that?
I mean, I think you can officiate it out of the game by calling those every time. You can call the false starts. You can call the procedural alignment penalties. I mean, half the time they're not even lined up correctly. Like you said, they're lined up on the ball or in the neutral zone.
Yeah.
Call it before the balls even snap. But then – you know, you really scratch your head and wonder, you know, what else is going on? Are they interested in getting this right? Are they interested in getting these calls right? Or are they interested in what we just talked about? You know, high scoring games, you know, these plays, we want touchdowns. We don't want to see defense and running the football in 10-7 ball games or 13-10 ball games. We want to see 56-35 ball games. You know, we want to see teams score. And there's validity to that. But when it comes down to changing the product that's on the field, which are professional athletes that grinded their entire lives to get to where they are to play a game, I don't think you should be trying to influence the outcome. I think you should be trying to call it straight up. And if you do want to get it right, my God, it's almost 2026. We have the technology, the revenue, the personnel to get it right, then get it right and stick to your guns and, you know, be accountable to the rules. You know, there's a process in the league for, you know, changing rules that you don't like. You know, there were a handful of teams that voted against the tush push, the Packers being one of them. Obviously, it didn't go through, and it's still a legal play, technically speaking. But bottom line, if the league wants to get rid of it, they can get rid of it. There's a multitude of ways that they can phase that play out of the game. But I think it starts with just, you know, enforcing the rules that you have on the books. You know, some of them that are, you know, well over 100 years old and we still use to this day, which is, you know, line up correctly, to start, and don't move before the ball snapped. Sounds pretty simple to me, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Like to Jay Gold's point, like we talked about, the right guard on that specific play was laying on the ground before the ball was snapped. And he's referring to, like you said, Clayton, they were playing the Giants. And at that point in the game, when they scored that touchdown with 6:56 in the second quarter, they went up 17-13. And at that point, that's still affecting every single part of this quote unquote, I shouldn't say quote unquote, actual rivalry there within that division. And it wasn't until the Giants ended up kind of running away with it with that crazy scataboo that if not for that crazy psycho, this game could have completely went a different way. And then the Eagles get bailed out again. And I hate saying it. I hate sounding like a casual fan type thing, but it just seems like the Eagles and the Chiefs just get a lot of these crazy calls where we all get to look back later. And like you said, we can see it with the sideline view. We don't need the slow motion overhead, all 22. We can literally see it live while we're watching the game. If some dumb, if some guy like me that can sit on his couch and say it, see it, I just, to me, what are we doing here?
Too old for this, hits it on the head. The rest are trying to be like Denzel in Book of Eli. They're blind and think they're out there doing the Lord's work. I love it. Comment of the night.
Which, by the way, man, I love
Great movie.
Great movie.
That's an excellent movie. So, speaking of Book of Eli, you got this guy right here.
Oh Lord,
what's happening?
Here's the guy.
Here's the guy, Emilio.
Here's the guy. We're talking about the rules.
What are you doing? Playing free cell over there? What are you doing?
No, I was playing a college football game. I got sidetracked. I'm sorry.
Oh, look, 2-minute drill. What
But I
happened?
did find a Screaming Milwaukee deal on clearance today, so $200 off. I got to dive on that.
That's what the folks came here for tonight, is to hear about that deal. I promise you.
But yeah, Micah was putting it down in his press conference. I thought that was a good one. They still need to fix some mics, but yeah, he said, and really honestly, they probably only need to call 2 or 3 holds that are super egregious. He goes, I get getting a hold in a game. It's going to happen. It's football. It's a battle. I get all that. He goes, 2 or 3 of them were actually egregious and need to be called. And the fact that I'm getting poked in the eye, he literally changed his face mask mid-game because they were assaulted, like poking at him through the face mask. That's why he probably used to, wear the visor. It's just you got to do everything. He says he's wearing now a rib cage, like flak jacket, to protect the rib cage because people are kidney shotting him and stuff. So it's just he's the most padding that he's ever had to wear because of how they're getting treated on the line.
There you go. Makes sense.
Crazy.
All right, so let us know in the comments what you guys think as you're watching this video back later. Do you think Micah was out of line? Do you agree with him? Do you think it's a big nothing burger? Let us know in the comments. We want to hear from you, your take on the officiating here across the league so far. So the book of Emilio is called Excel.
Nice. I like that.
Love it. All right, let's move along to some injury report